If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you know how challenging and taxing it can be. When their true nature is revealed, they leave their victims feeling bewildered, hurt, and devalued when they were only fooled by their initial charisma. A narcissist's typical traits are cruelty, manipulation, and a lack of empathy. To what extent, if any, can we expect such behavior from them? The question is, how does one avoid falling prey to their sway? In this video, we will explore 5 effective ways to damage a narcissist's pride and make them realize their place. Using these strategies, you can reclaim your agency in your encounters with the narcissist and strengthen your position before ending the relationship. Narcissists frequently employ manipulative strategies, including gaslighting, blaming others, and lying to keep their victims under their thumb. Recognizing these strategies and choosing not to participate might be an effective strategy to demonstrate your independence. I want to ask you this first. When did you last attempt to outwit a narcissist? If so, please explain how it happened and whether the results were satisfactory. Leave your thoughts in the comments and maybe you may help other survivors find hope. Don't leave before the 5th one, which is going to be the most impactful and engaging of the lot. Number 1. Focus on the narcissist's actual traits rather than what you thought them to be. The largest pitfall is the conflict between happy and sad times spent with the narcissist. You have this conflicting feeling. On the one hand, you know a narcissist is a terrible person, yet on the other, you can't help but be drawn to them for the little respite they promise from your ongoing anguish. From cognitive and emotional dissonance, you keep rationalizing the narcissistic conduct, and from a lack of better options, you cling to what I would consider hopeless. You expect that, despite their bad behavior, they are fundamentally nice at heart. You are missing the idea altogether. You may unwittingly gaslight yourself, giving them more chances than they deserve and ultimately giving in to their manipulation. When co-parenting or engaged in a code war, this can be a highly risky way of thinking. To break the spell, you must accept them for who they really are rather than projecting onto them an idealized version of yourself or the connection. They have no use for ideas like friendship, teamwork, open dialogue, or respect because they don't think they have anything to improve or contribute. They can't see any of these opportunities. Since they are who they have shown themselves to be, all effort put into trying to bring this promise to fruition is wasted. The person you saw when you were surprised and startled by their dark side is the real one. Everything else is a mask. Take a step back and observe the recurring dynamics between them. Allow yourself to enjoy yourself. To realize that every happy memory of your time together with them was tainted by their abuse, and that they'd gone from angels to demons in an effort to keep you bound to them. Realizing the truth may hurt, but it will ultimately set you free. Regardless of the circumstances, you will always have the upper hand once you recognize they are an entity that does not wish well for you. Don't let their kind demeanor or genuine concern fool you. The callousness they show is something you can expect them to exhibit even in front of your children, and their potential savagery in the heat of a code conflict. The more you can accept them for who they really are, the more power you'll have in the relationship and the better prepared you'll be for whatever they throw at you. Keep in mind that the narcissist can no longer hurt you once you recognize it as such. As an aside, trauma bonding and traumatic experiences are accompanied by a phenomenon known as cognitive resonance. Rule number 2. Answer but avoid reacting to a narcissist. You have all the strength you need. If you are aware of their intentions and the benefit they will gain from manipulating your emotions, they will be unable to have any effect on you. The narcissist won't get the kick out of triggering you anymore once you see the link and start responding instead of reacting. In the case of a narcissist, this could take the form of reading a spiteful message in which they blame you for everything and project their own problems onto you. They are looking for a provider, and your response would be to provide one. They want you to justify yourself or explain why you did something, so you do. This is the method used to trap you further into the spiral. As an alternative, if you were responding, you'd skim the message for the specifics that matter most. You might, for instance, react only to their chat if it concerns the children's pickup and drop-off times, while ignoring the other and saving their messages as evidence in case you ever need it. You need to give yourself some credit by learning to moderate your emotions and think things through rationally. You can't let your feelings be your sole guidance while interacting with a narcissist. Put your wits to use as a permanent compass. If you're looking for a narcissistic approach to energize yourself, remember to tap into your emotions. If you want to become a narcissist's worst nightmare, learn to control your feelings. Third, establish clear and steady boundaries. Please hear me out on this. The absence of boundaries is like putting oneself to death. I know it's tough to establish boundaries with a narcissist, but it's for the best that you attempt. You have to do everything you can to tame this wild animal to keep it in check. You're dealing with a narcissist who also happens to be a complete jerk and a complete asshole. For if you give in to them, they will stretch a centimeter into a meter. That is to say, if you give them an inch of the room, they'll make a foot. Keep forcing your boundaries, and eventually they will leave you alone if they can't appreciate it. You are paving the way for much suffering on your own. Don't count on them to hold your dignity in high esteem. It's pointless to expect anything from a narcissist. Your children's safety depends on your own free will, whether you allow them to visit. Every day of the week, they will show up, not caring about anyone or anything. They will come to your home, make themselves at home, and act as if nothing has changed since they last visited. Try to get to the bottom of why you're having trouble setting boundaries. In order to say no and keep the narcissist at bay, you must first understand and treat the root cause. And to the extent that you can, set limits to make it clear what kinds of behavior you will and will not accept. Impose penalties on them if they misbehave. Do not be afraid to cut corners. Forgiveness is out of the question here. Make sure they know how to get in touch with you and how often they can see the children if you're divorcing and sharing custody. Rule number 4. Don't be fooled by their bait. This narcissist is taking the blame game to a new level of volume. They abdicate responsibility and make other people feel accountable for things they don't want to handle because it satisfies their urge to feel superior. Don't take it personally when narcissists point the finger at you. Reject and deflect it by pretending it doesn't bother you. Truths are revealed in their projections. They're trying to get rid of their own sense of guilt and identity by laying the blame squarely on your shoulders. In and of itself, that is a significant worry. Instead of hearing your side of the story, they may choose to find fault with you and your parenting methods, or even fabricate evidence to indicate that you are a bad parent. Show them how incorrect they are by prioritizing responsible parenting. Allow them to speak whatever comes to mind, because their opinions are worthless. Here's another way to consider it. Why would you trust the opinion of someone who is emotionally distant and has no sense of self? The way they see you is entirely subjective, open to interpretation, and hence unreliable. As for who they really are on the inside, you already know, even though they refuse to accept. In this way, the first point, which is to accept them as they are, is expanded. By defeating them, you'll also be able to laugh at how stupid they are being. Lastly, and most importantly, is point number 5. Make use of their weaknesses as a weapon. Simply observing the narcissist with no attachments or biases will help you recognize him or her for what he or she really is: a collection of dysfunctional emotions and predictable, repetitive behaviors. You'll be able to predict a narcissist's reactions and triggers with pinpoint accuracy if you can keep your emotions in check long enough to observe them closely. If you can do all of the things I just listed, you may even be able to condition some of their behavior. That doesn't mean you have to embrace narcissism in order to be one. You are obligated to. Is there anything you can use as a weapon to prevent them from torturing you? Use their weaknesses against them, such as their preoccupation with seeming flawless to the public. You could find out what they need from you and how to give it to them while still gaining what you require in return. A drip supply is what I'm referring to here. Make them cooperate by appealing to their impulses and desire for rapid fulfillment. Everything is doable, but only if you put in the time and effort to plan. Could I be considered a narcissist if I do this? Not necessarily. You have no intention of harming them in any way by doing any of this. It's just a precaution to save yourself if something bad does happen. You aren't causing them any harm. Simply said, liberation lies in the realization of the truth. Build up your emotional fortitude. Keep them from torturing you by adjusting your expectations and using their characteristics against them. From now, it will be all. Let me know in the comments if you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. It's time for some healing.